Again, many, many thanks to Tim Robinson. I've got now the great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. A very warm welcome to Aaron Koblin. Aaron is one of the leading designers, web designers, and has actually been involved in the map project from the beginning. He was part of our DLD conference in Munich. He's a digital media artist as well, a designer, lives and works in San Francisco. He's best known for his innovative uses of data for data maps and also crowdsourcing. Koblin's projects have been shown at international festivals, including Ars Electronica, the Japan Media Art Festival, and also TED, and have been exhibited in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. In 2006, he received the National Science Foundation's First Place Award for Science Visualization, and in 2009, he was named Creativity Magazine's prize, I think. I don't know what it was. It was a special award. Koblin is a graduate of UCLA Design Media Art School and is currently also working many parallel realities as technology lead of Google's Creative Lab. And he's going to show us here his extraordinary map. Welcome, Koblin.
All right, thank you. So we're all aware that there's a rapidly increasing number of digital mediated transactions between people and people, people and computers, and computers and computers. And these transactions are leaving behind digital traces, all kinds of data that's easily quantifiable and analyzable. So most of my work deals with visualizing these digital trails and kind of re-embodying them, putting them back into a space that's contextually significant and kind of undertaking data visualization in a way that is meaningful. I'm going to go quickly through a few of the projects I've worked on for the last several years. This is a look at a project called Flight Patterns. So what you're seeing right here is now nighttime settling over North America. And you see darkness falls and a few flights from the West Coast travel over to the East Coast, where eventually you'll see everybody wake up right there in the bloom of European flights coming in. This is air traffic. You see in the lower left-hand corner, there's about 20,000 flights at peak. And again, you see them from San Francisco and Los Angeles trailing down to Hawaii in the left corner. And I think it's one thing to say that there's 140,000 airplanes in the sky above us, but it's an entirely different thing to see that system as it ebbs and flows. This is looking at the same data, but color-coded by type. So you can see the diversity of aircraft in the skies above. I did a few different studies looking at ways to visualize air traffic. This is, again, a time lapse of that 24 hours with color diversity mapping. This is a shot looking specifically at New York area, so you can see the three major airports and some of the congestion that they're dealing with in the skies above. This is a look at Florida. You can see the major airports with blue representing, blue to white representing altitude. So as it becomes more white, you can see the descending planes turn into airports. This is looking at the West Coast. You see San Francisco, Los Angeles, the no-fly zone over Nevada. And then specific airports like Atlanta, where there's lots of traffic. You can see all the shipping containers approaching the same location. This is looking at the East Coast. This is New York. You see, again, all the chaos that they're dealing with around those three centralized airports. So I took this data and I created a Google Maps mashup. This is looking at, basically it allows you to pan around and specifically zoom in on individual airports. You can see, again, the altitude, blue to white, representing where they're landing. You can also toggle into model and manufacture to see the diversity of aircraft. You can see right there some holding patterns and other features. This is a look at, again, Atlanta, looking at descending and ascending flights, color-coded differently. Did a time-lapse animation so you can actually see the life of that airport and how it shifts over time, flipping the direction that planes are landing in. You can see all these holding patterns that start to form down below. I'll see if I can show you quickly. As you see there, the airport just flipped its functions. This is a project called New York Talk Exchange that was installed at the MoMA with MIT's Sensible Cities Lab. And it's basically looking at how New York communicates with the rest of the world. So we created a real-time globe that is showing with a 24-hour offset all the changing relationships between New York and other major cities as seen through IP flow data. And we divided that data between email traffic, between BitTorrent and various other forms of internet traffic, so you could see the changing relationship geographically. We also took a look at the boroughs and subdivided into separate sections. So you could see New York City as which subsection of which borough was communicating to which part of the world, kind of a sociological demographic insight through the perspective of AT&T's infrastructure. This was long-distance phone call data. Also looking at SMS data, at phone call data, this is looking at SMS messages sent from the city of Amsterdam. So what you're about to see is New Year's Eve, as seen through people texting each other. So you see the daily ebb and flow, and then bam, New Year's Eve. So this is an interactive tool that allows you to move around the city and see specifically where people are sending SMS messages at what time. This is also looking at Queen's Day right now, so you see again the daily ebb and flow of people sending text messages. And then you'll see people start to gather towards the center of the city right there and setting up for the day's festival on the next day right there, where everybody's texting each other rapidly. So stepping back for a brief moment, I used to work at a place called the Center for Embedded Network Sensing at UCLA, and I was writing laser scanner software there. So this is basically a robot that would rove through space, shooting lasers out in beams along a specific path, and then it would collect the point data in order to create these images of spaces. And I was really intrigued by the types of images that the laser was collecting and that I was creating with the data. This is looking at an installation that I set up for the center, which would use this laser so that as people passed through the space, they would leave traces of their body, kind of traces over time of obstructions. And this was seen by a director in LA named James Frost. And he said, well, wouldn't it be amazing if we could create a video without video? And we decided to create a 3D scanning music video for the band Radiohead. And this was for their House of Cards song, and we basically used two types of distance scanners to create this music video of Tom York. Here you see the first scanner. This is a structured light scanner that we use. It's basically throwing triangles at the system and coming up with geometry. And the second was this LiDAR laser. It's an array of 64 lasers that's spinning around collecting distance points. We created images that look like this. This is a structured light scan of Tom York's face, showing the distance points along his face. This is the 64 laser array upright collecting a 360-degree view that's updating real time of the distances. And then we also used that laser in a different way, where we put it on the back of a truck and pulled it through a scene to do point data accumulation. And we scanned various city scenes and landscapes. And we took this data and put it online. This is an interactive tool that my friend Aaron Myers and I made, which allows you to actually view the music video basically at your own pace, and you can decide what you're looking at. And parts of this project was not just getting to make this awesome video, but release the data that we used to make it, and also the open source tools to build your own version. And we set up some YouTube groups so people could make their own versions. This is looking at the pinboard Tom York and also the Lego Tom York. You can see some of the amazing different interpretations people had of the data. Even more recently, somebody even 3D printed Tom York's head, which I thought was pretty entertaining. So on to something completely different. This is Baron Wolfgang von Kemplen's mechanical chess playing machine known as the Mechanical Turk. And this was the inspiration for a web service called the Mechanical Turk. And this allows, Amazon calls it artificial intelligence, and it allows you to employ people through the internet. So I'll move very quickly through this. Basically, I wanted to visualize this system, a system that doesn't really have any geography, and I decided to create a task. I asked people to draw sheep facing to the left, and I started collecting people's sheep. I collected lots and lots of sheep. Lots of sheep. I took the first 10,000 sheep that I collected and put them up on a website called thesheepmarket.com, where you can actually see this gigantic grid of all of the workers, but then you can also see individually how each sheep was made by a different person. And I think this gives you kind of a different sense of the human nature of this kind of creative task that they've been forced to undertake. A few stats really quickly. There were 662 sheep that didn't meet sheep-like criteria and were thrown out. 7,599 unique IP addresses, so that's about how many people participated in the project, but only one of them asked this, which I was really surprised by. There's a lot of reasons. I won't really go through them, but this is another Mechanical Turk project that I use, that I worked on with my friend Takashi Kawashima, and basically it's 10,000 people all working together to create a massive forgery of a $100 bill. And they were each paid 1 cent for their effort, which is the value of the piece that they're creating. So what you're seeing here is each one of those individuals with no context creating this gigantic $100 bill. I think the contrast to this, well, I'll talk about one more Mechanical Turk project really quickly. I don't think I really have time to play through it, but there's a song, Daisy Bell. And this is the first computer synthesized song. So it's the first example of a computer acting like a human and singing. You may recognize it from 2001 Space Odyssey when Hal's dying. He starts singing this song. It's recognized as the moment where kind of computers became human in a way. So my friend Daniel Massey and I were interested in how could we kind of play with the Mechanical Turk idea of people acting like machines and resynthesize this song using human voices. So we created a Mechanical Turk task where you put in a number and you're basically recreating a teeny smidgen of the song using this tool. This is what some of that sounded like. So we took all those samples when we piled them up on top of each other and resynthesized the entire song with thousands of people. If you get a chance, you can hear more at bicyclebuiltfor2000.com, and it's actually spatialized if you get a chance to use headphones. So I've been asked to keep it very concise. I'm going to just continue to blow through these projects. But I wanted to touch very briefly on this other crowdsourcing project I worked on called the Johnny Cash Project. And it's kind of the opposite of that, where people actually have a sense of what it is that they're participating in. And rather than being kind of isolated and alienated, everybody's working together to build out this music video for Johnny Cash. It's kind of participating together to build it out. So if you get a chance, it's johnnycashproject.com. You can actually contribute to it. It's an ongoing kind of project that's building on itself every day. Last but not least, I just wanted to mention this latest project I did for Arcade Fire. Because it's a mapping discussion, I thought it was really relevant. I don't have time to show it to you, but if you get a chance at thewildernessdowntown.com, what you'll see is an experience that is driven through multiple windows. It kind of takes over your computer browser, and it starts off by asking you to enter the address where you grew up. And after you enter this address, you kind of see the storyline play out. And what it's doing is integrating Google Maps and Street View imagery, and it's tailoring the entire project kind of to you specifically. So it's a different experience for every person. And I think there's a lot of kind of emotion and sense of space that is brought into the storyline, which can make it engaging in a completely different level. And the very, very last project, I promise, is looking at, it's an installation at San Jose Airport, and it's taking weather data from the NOAA, and it's moving kind of virtually from one space to another, representing abstractly the cloud patterns. So it has wind speed, direction, cloud cover, and it's visualizing that through these individual panels. This was a collaboration with Dan Goods and Nick Hoffermoss. So this privacy glass is electronically controlled to go from clear to opaque, and you can see the patterns play out through it. I know that was extremely quick, but thank you very much.